In the case of Ryebank Fields, yes, it's owned by MMU, University now. And it was given to them, as far as we understand, through a covenant from Manchester City Council for them to use for sport and recreation, which they did.
And they played football on it for a while. I played football here. Over 20 years ago, they stopped playing football here. It's been allowed to grow wild and diverse. And now there's 1,400 trees on here. There's foxes live here. 60 species of birds visit these fields.
MMU more or less abandoned it.
They just abandoned it and left it to nature, and nature's reclaimed it. And yet, 20 years later, they want to sell the land, develop on it, and ruin it, basically.
It's somewhere where you see the grasses change on a daily basis. You hear crickets, you hear the bees buzzing, you see the butterflies, there's bats that come at night as well.
Channel into that higher version of ourselves. And when we do this, we connect with everyone on a higher level and all beings. And we realise that we're part of nature, we're all one and we're all whole.
It was like a wildlife haven, really. There are very few places like it, really.
The day after MMU chopped the trees down to get the mini digger through, I was out in the fields. There was birds swooping and screeching, looking for their nests. It was horrible to see, and that was just 3 trees chopped down. It's 1,400 trees out there. It's going to be carnage for local wildlife if the development goes ahead.
All over the world, people are talking about that. How are we going to trap the carbon dioxide? How are we going to suck it back out of the atmosphere? And trees do that job.
What I think is very short-sighted is that this area is going to hit complete saturation point. It's already gridlock with congestion and chronic traffic chaos. Those problems are exacerbated by putting more and more homes into a small footprint. The Nico Ditch is an ancient 1,000-year-old structure from the Anglo Saxon period. It dates somewhere between 600 and 1000 AD. Unless they open up the Trafford side, which again the councillors are opposed to on that side, they will have to build a road over the Nico Ditch. It's something we should preserve. It's something that we should keep for generations, because it's one of the few remaining sections of it.
There are big question marks over the suitability of that site for housing with respect to flooding.
And it's all to do with the fact that the whole land sits on a clay deposit. It was formerly part of Jackson's Brickworks as the clay pits. Later, it became an unregistered tip.
The land is essentially contaminated if you start to dig.
There was no regulations on the disposal of asbestos. I'd happily chain myself to a tree to stop it, because I would actually literally have to watch them destroy the whole of that beautiful habitat and that beautiful green space from my window. So it'll be 2 years of watching the destruction. And it's not just me, but my son, he's played there since he was a baby. It's going to be soul destroying, really.
So the idea that they want to sell land that they were given is a moral question rather than anything else to me. Especially a university that claims to have green credentials.
I think if ManMet get that through a covenant that says that it should be used for sport and recreation, then they should honour that.
The council are in favour of the development because it brings in money from council tax.
I think there's a lot of austerity measures coming down from the Tory government. Manchester's been Labour for years, so you would hope that Labour would stand up to that a bit more than they are doing.
What MMU are trying to do here is cash in.
They've described themselves as a corporation rather than a university.
They should be in the business of education, but they seem to be in the business of making money. Obviously the people at the very top of MMU pay themselves a huge wage. Think about 300,000, including pension.
The wealth of this country that has been built up through generations and generations just seems to be going to a few individuals all of the time. And I think we need to change this, and I think land is a particularly obvious example of this.
So the idea that MMU have acquired land at no cost and are now seeking to profit from selling that land doesn't seem to be right.
Basically, the history of this country has been taking the land off the people. It's our land, it's public land, and half of that has gone since 1979, and it's worth about £400 billion.
The alternative to having private ownership of land is to have public ownership of land, I guess. And people having some sort of democratic say in what happens to land.
I just don't really understand land ownership. I see it as exactly the same as air ownership or sea ownership.
The petition calls for MMU to return it, the land, to council ownership.
This is about MMU trying to make money out of land that they were given. We're saying give it back to the people, because it used to belong to the people. This is actually a backdoor privatisation of public land. And let's turn it into a biodiverse haven for wildlife and have kids come in here and learn, do forest schools, learn about the wildlife. I would like to set up a little bird watching spot just in the middle. That's my dream.
We have so little green space left, and every single bit of it should be cherished.
But certainly the people of Chorlton and Stretford need to realise what they are about to lose. If you let them do it here, they'll do it anywhere.
Land that was ours should stay as ours, and that's it. And I'd be very happy if it stayed pretty much as it was.
I'm now increasingly of the view that we need a green revolution, call it eco-socialism, but we need to realise that capitalism will destroy everything if we let it.